Hello, this is Barbara Kolm again, and I have the pleasure and privilege to have Dr. Wolf von Laer here with me. Wolf is the president of Students for Liberty, but Wolf is much more. He has been a longtime friend, and we've been working together on many occasions. He has been traveling with us at the Free Market Roadshow when he was a student back then, many years ago. Wolf, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Barbara.
It's a pleasure. So, what we will discuss now with Wolf is not only what brought him to liberty and to freedom, and more importantly, in the defense of freedom, because freedom is constantly at stake. You see that every single day in each and every country across the world. What brought you to these ideas?
So, I think the answer is Google, first and foremost, because and the financial recession of 2008. Because once that occurred, you remember the media, especially in Europe, it was just about like the fall of the bankers and it's capitalism's fall, and that didn't really sit well with me. That seemed like such a short explanation. It didn't make much sense to me, and so I started to Google, and then I found out about the Austrian School of Economics and Mises and Hayek and Rothbard and other people, and started reading them, and I couldn't stop. So I just continued reading everything, what has government done to our money. If you have not read that book, you should definitely check it out. It's fantastic. And then I learned like a completely different worldview. And then I asked myself, like, okay, so what is money? What is the good life? So I went to like morality and then asked questions about that. And it really opened up a complete different world to me. And it was so enriching. And then I even learned that there are other people out there that believe in these things, because at my campus, definitely nobody was interested in it. And later I got even a master's in Austrian economics as well, because I was really so excited about the ideas in Laer.
Well, this is exactly the thing, that at European campuses there is a minority of professors who teach Austrian economics, who discuss it with their students. I was privileged to study Austrian economics in the United States back then. You at least had some professors and some influencers that when you were studying. And I remember very well the time in 2008, 2009 when we had our first road shows going on, and we had Liberty Fund books, and they were exhibited, and I know very well that you handled them, and that I think maybe this was also one of the things that helped you get to.
Yeah, I mean, it did not only really help me with my real muscles because I was schlepping so many books for you, but also the intellectual muscles.
For the entire team.
For the entire team, yeah. And those books were really also intriguing me, because then I saw, like, okay, there's like the Wealth of Nations and Team S, the Theory of Moral Sentiment, which is really such a fantastic book by Adam Smith, which I would even say, like, had more of an impact on me than the Wealth of Nations. Mm-hmm. And so you exposing so many audiences across the world, and so many different countries to that, and I was part of that. That was really a huge influential trip for me when I was a young student.
Well, and then the next big step in your career after having done your PhD was actually going to Students for Liberty, and now you're the president of Students for Liberty. How is that? What do you do all day long?
It's definitely a privilege, because I was a volunteer for Students for Liberty as well. As a young 20-year-old, I was able to raise 50,000 euros and start a whole training program. And I got these opportunities that no internship program, no university program would ever give to me, but the organization gave it to me. And now I'm in a privileged position to do this with thousands of other volunteers across the world. And we have now volunteers in 107 countries. And I'm working with, 84 staff members right now, working on this, and we have a YouTube channel and all of these different things. And what I'm doing, I'm raising resources so that we can support those students, working with my dedicated staff to support those students and give them the tools and resources so that they become dedicated and eloquent and kind classical liberals, so that they can get out there and continue to defend these ideas, as you're doing right now with the podcast. But we want to build like an army, so that they are activists, think tank leaders, politicians, academics, journalists, and I think that's how we're going to influence the world step by step, which will make a good job.
That is a very important task and a noble endeavor that you follow, and I'm very glad that you do it.
You've supported us early on. You gave us books, really, because like you were established and we were just like a bunch of kids that didn't know what we're doing. And,
well, you did know what you were doing. You were fighting for freedom.
Very true, very true.
And talking about that, what are the biggest challenges for your groups in the respective campuses? So let's look at the US, let's look at Europe, compare it, and What are those challenges?
Yeah, the challenges really are very similar across Europe and America. It is, I mean, we see wokeism is definitely an issue. And part of that is also the students don't feel confident to speak up against the ideas that they might disagree with.
Yeah.
Because they feel the pressure not only from their peers, but also from their professors. And so we see this in all of these surveys that we see regularly. 70-80% of the students say that they don't feel confident to say something in class.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really stifling free speech and the very idea of university. And so that is a struggle that we are facing, and that's an issue. And then another thing is also that I think the boundaries like between the ideologies are a little bit blurring. Like to some extent, like the right is now against like free trade, which the right was always for. The left used to be fighting for free speech; it's now against. And we see all of this turmoil within ideology, and classical liberals don't really have a very strong standing, and maybe you don't know what that means. And libertarian often is negatively connoted, so it's really difficult to find like a good niche within the movement.
Well, that is very important. The common denominator is individual freedom, individual liberty, entrepreneurial freedom. So, do the students, once they join, immediately get that it's this common denominator that we stand for and that we constantly need to defend, or is it more the big moral theory ideas, or is it sometimes economic ideas that they learn about and then they join you, or what is their motives?
So when we survey our students, the top three influencers typically are Hayek, Mises, and Rand. So the Randians mostly coming from like a moral philosophy point of view, whereby like the Misesians or Hayekians coming more from economics, maybe, or social philosophy framework. So those are the primary motivators, but we are very much decentralized, very much bottom-up, very Hayekian in that sense. And so we want to really give the environment where students can find their own calling. It might be within marketing, it might be within fundraising, it might be within activism. And so we want to attract all of these different folks and give them different opportunities. Especially young people often don't know what they can accomplish. And we want them to give them like big, ambitious goals so that they can see like, okay, maybe I can do this thing. And that is really the exciting part. And then students go into many different directions, but I think the majority probably policy, academia, activism, but also some politics and more and more so specifically in Africa, journalism.
Oh, wow, that's good. So we just in Austria, just for you to know, we have a new students group, Students for Liberty group, and they are meeting at the Hayek Institute.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Make that possible.
Of course.
Yeah.
We try to help and support them in any way we can.
We need more Austrians in Austria.
You're right. You're totally right. But at least we have some Germans in Austria and who are Austrians and some Austrians who are Germans.
And you're defending the ideas in Austria. That was for a long time very lonely endeavor as well.
You're right, but now it's getting better and better. You know, since the political system is collapsing across Europe, and or at least people understand that socialism doesn't work, and that will not get us anywhere. That our ideas emerge better.
I think the youth is also waking up. I don't know if you've seen this, but there was recently a YouTuber, I think from Belgium, but he was recently voted into the European Parliament, and he did like a video of walking there and basically saying like, oh, I'm getting $8,000 just in salary. I have $10,000 more for staff. I have $30,000 for this. And it was going on and on and on, and it was like such a huge shock. So I think the youth is waking up a little bit and hopefully pushing back against it. But often things have to get worse before they get better.
Well, we know that is true. So, what is your take on Germany these days? I know you live in the U.S. now, so you can talk freely. But or let's put it more generally, because I don't want to put you in trouble. What will happen with your good old Europe?
I mean, I can talk to Germany a little bit, but I'm really not an expert. I'm deciding to be rationally ignorant, which is a concept from public choice, which means that I decide not to be very informed about it. Because A, I don't live there, and B, each time when I see something coming from that country, it seems very stupid. I mean, if you think about the energy policy, how they screwed it. And that was the machine that made really Germany strong economically. On the continent, and now they ripped it away because of all of the really high electricity costs. Germans buying electricity from France, all of that nonsense.
Shutting down the nuclear power plants, all three of them.
Which were amongst the most modern within Europe, therefore the most safe. So, I I mean, I love Europe. I always feel home when I'm there. I love visiting there, but I think I feel more at home in the United States, and I don't have any plans of coming back. That's my decisions. And the European Union is definitely, at the beginning, the idea was fantastic, and I think they brought all Europeans closer together, and that we don't have any borders and have the free trade. I think that's amazing. That's new, and it has helped so many Europeans, but they went as government tends to go abroad and regulated so much, centralized so much power. For instance, financial markets, which makes no sense whatsoever. To have like the Spanish financial markets be in the same bucket, same regulated as Austria, as Germany. It just makes no sense, and this is what's happening.
Yeah, I think so. This one size fits all politics.
Yep.
Hayek, 80 years ago, when the Road Certain was first published, he was arguing against central planning and explained why it did not work. Not even in a war industry, but not in a free industry and or peace industry. But Brussels is only centrally planned.
Yep, and they're grabbing more and more. And nobody in Europe, most people don't know what the European Union is really doing. And they don't know how it's affected them because it's so far away from them.
Well, cost-benefit analysis is something that many politicians don't understand either.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, this is always this really, really interesting insights also from public choice is like concentrated benefits, dispersed costs.
Yeah.
The costs are across all of the Europeans in the European Union. Or all of the Americans in the United States. And let's say there's like a policy that benefits farmers, and they're getting like millions and billions and whatever, and everybody has to pay maybe like 10 cents more, or like there will be thousands of dollars more in debt per citizen. But who's going to go and fight against that? Nobody will. But however, the farming lobby or the banking lobby or whoever, they're going to fight for these privileges.
Well, but you know what? There is one thing. If we educate next generation, and there is many more young people coming up, maybe we have an opportunity, we have a chance to win out. And so what would be the next steps for you, for Students for Liberty? How will you advance it? What will happen next?
Don't tell anyone. I mean, it's only on the internet, so nobody will hear that. But like, I want to create a global conspiracy.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's my goal, because we have all of these very talented students that are with Students for Liberty for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, really develop leadership skills. Exactly, they want to they know how to get stuff done, and then they become maybe like the next Barbara Kolm, right?
Like CEOs of whatever.
Exactly,
or founders.
And those people, we have over 10,000 alumni now, all across the world. Right now, we're working more on connecting them, because we're already seeing it's working in cases in Brazil, but also in America too. But for instance, we now have competitions run on platforms that are being funded by some business people, and all of them are former SLRs, right? They're alumni.
Cool.
And then they get the policy proposals from the policy walks that are also alumni from SLR. All of them have been friends, and they worked in the same organization, and we see it's already happening. And so give me like another decade or two, and I do think that we will have...
I have a suggestion, since we do not only work with the Students for Liberty, but we could work with the Free Market Roadshow, also with the alumni. Not only have them as speakers, but also get them involved and promote the ideas in their respective countries.
Absolutely, and our alumni now have started, I think like over 120 think tanks. 1/4 of them are like part of the Atlas network now. Just give you an example, like we started in Africa in 2013. Now, 2/3 of every free market-oriented think tank or grassroots organization is either founded by our people or run by our people.
Yeah.
And that's within like a little bit over a decade, right?
That's a
makes me optimistic.
That's a huge accomplishment. So we need the same thing in Europe.
Indeed, it's happening in Europe too.
Yeah, let's work on that. We need more
together. Yes.
We need more on that. So last question: the U.S. campuses. How will you turn around the sentiment against capitalism, against freedom, against free speech?
I think we have a unique opportunity right now, because I believe that both citizens in general and students in particular are sick of all of this fighting and yelling and the aggressiveness with that politics is these days. And so I do think that we can appeal to the folks that are maybe silent right now, but that are standing on the sidelines, that are just listening to everything that's going on. And when we present ourselves as not the people that have ideas, yes, and some of these ideas might be radical for them because it's market and capitalism and so forth. But we are the kind people, the people that listen to the other side and say like, hey, what's your opinion before we like beat them
Push.
over the head with like Mises Human Action or something along
Yeah.
those lines. And so I think there are people that are sick of this.
It's
And that's how we
heavy.
position it. It is heavy. It's like this thing.
Yeah.
So I think there's a unique opportunity to say like, hey, for liberty advocates, libertarians, classical liberals, whatever word you want to use, that is the opportunity, and that's where you can come people with rational ideas that really are stick following the craziness from both sides right now.
Well, thank you both for staying with me, for discussing ideas of freedom with me, and also for promoting those ideas internationally. Looking
thank you.
forward to our next collaboration, and stay tuned. Join us, and Wolf, maybe Wolf, we will have you at the roadshow again as a speaker or
Lovely.
as a moderator that you did so wonderfully in Dallas, which was fun, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it would be great. And you all, please subscribe to all of our channels and all the social media, and keep watching Barbara Kolm's great interviews.
Likewise. Bye.
Bye.